Well, I think the story, it captures very real people, and it shows a side of people which very few films do, and it allows these group of outsiders really to really find their place. And I think it's a film that a lot of people can relate to, and a lot of people will be able to watch and really take something from. And I think that's really important. Yeah, me and Morgan, the director, spoke a lot before filming about where we wanted to take the character, and I did a lot of research. I went to schools for people who were on the spectrum and spoke to a lot of the kids and learnt about some of the problems that they faced and tried to build this character from the ground up, taking parts of the original character who I was very loosely based on, called Daniel. He was an amazing person, and yeah, I think we both wanted to keep the film as authentic as possible and to try and really capture what it was like.
What's the importance of independent cinema and of celebrating it at events like these?
Well, independent film, it allows everyone, both actors, directors, the cast and the crew, to really produce a film that is a lot more, I think it can be a lot more personal. When you're not tied down to regulations and studios, it means that you can sort of take the film to places that you might not necessarily be able to, and make the focus of it really interesting subjects like this.
What does it mean for you personally to be nominated?
Oh, I'm over the moon. The list of fellow nominees is fantastic, and it's actually a name check of all my favourite actresses, so I just feel very honoured, actually. For Mr. Turner, just that artistic endeavour and how the creative process works and what you have to be selfish about as an artist at that time, and I think that applies today as well.
What makes Mike such a unique creative force?
Well, just his vision and his ethos and and the time that he gives to every single person in every department to make good what they need to do, and the trust he puts in people is very gratifying.
Why do you think it is so important to celebrate independent cinema? What does it give audiences and performers they don't get from other types of cinema?
Well, I think it's to acknowledge the creativity, because there's no big studios behind it, and I think that those confines mean that filmmakers are maybe thinking outside the box, and they're forced to be more creative and tell different stories, and it's just a reflection of what's actually going on in Britain.
What does it mean for you for the Imitation Game to be nominated in so many well-deserved categories this year?
Oh, it's a tremendous honor, especially as an American, to get to come here to London under such auspices. It's fantastic, and I couldn't be more proud of our film, and I'm so glad that it means that hopefully people will get to see it. I think Alan Turing was one of the great geniuses of the 20th century, and he was sort of written out of so many popular narratives of the Second World War and of computer science because he was a gay man. And so one of the things we wanted to do with this film was to put his life on screen, to show his whole life, and give him the recognition that I think he was denied so much in his own life.
Talking about Alan as a gay man, obviously the film kind of keeps that part of his life to a large extent kind of secret, to the extent that we don't see him in those kind of intimate moments, those kind of relationships. Was that something that you considered, and were there drafts of the script that perhaps went further in that respect?
No, we'd never had a sex scene in any draft of the script. I know there have been a couple of reports in the press that are incorrect. It's very strange. It had never... his homosexuality, I think, was so at the core of Alan's experience of the world. And I think we wanted to show that. We wanted to show how the experience of being a closeted gay man in Britain in the 30s and 40s fundamentally inspired so much of his wonderful work. I think the whole concept of the imitation game was this idea that we are only what we can convince other people that we are. I think that is a concept that revolutionized philosophy and science, and it sort of only could have come from a gay man who was pretending to be something that he was not every single day of his life. I think there was this remarkable intertwining between Alan's personal life and his professional accomplishments, and that's one of the things that we were so excited about getting to bring to life on screen. I think that Benedict is an unparalleled actor, and it's such a great joy as a writer to get to write for an actor like that. He is endlessly inventive. He does a new thing every day. The process of working with him was just a joy every day, because you never knew what he was going to do. You never knew what was going to happen next. And I think he's always surprising as an actor. Whenever you think you have him pegged down, and whenever you think he's going to go right, he goes left. Whenever you think he's going to go left, he goes right. And it's just an amazing thing to watch and to get to be a part of on set.
What's made you most proud? What response to the film has given you the most personal pride?
Oh, a month or two ago, we had a screening for a number of members of Alan Turing's family. I think one of which, there was a woman, one of his nieces, who was 18 when he passed away. So she had some pretty good memories of him, and we had talked to her before production, to Benedict to talk to her and to sort of get some of her memories. But after the screening, having members of Turing's own family come up to all of us and tell us how proud they were of the film and how it made them feel like they were seeing him alive again on screen was just the greatest honor for us. I mean, that's the most important audience for us.
It's always the other actors. I really like working with the other actors, and so that's usually the thing. You usually get a vibe off you can prepare as much as you want, but you usually have to be kind of present in front of the other actors to see what happens, and that's always the thing that inspires me the most. Yeah, I love playing them all. I'm delighted to be here with Pride, which isn't about any villains, or it's about proper human beings. So yeah, I like to mix it up a bit. Yeah.
I'm Stephen Beresford, and I am the writer of Pride.
Stephen, it's fantastic to have you tonight. Obviously, Pride nominated in so many categories. How much of a vindication is it, not just for you as filmmakers, but for the two communities that this film celebrates?
Yeah, it's wonderful. For 20 years, actually, I was told this story in the early 90s when I was about 21, 22, and I would tell people the story and say, I've got this fantastic idea for a feature film. And they'd say, what is it about? And I'd say, vegan, lesbian activists and a coal mining dispute. And, amazingly, they would always say, no, I don't think that's going to fly. So finally to get it made, and then to have these awards nominations is a huge vindication. And as you say, not just for us, but for the people involved. For them, it's one of them said to me at one point, we thought this story would die with us. So the fact that it's out there in the world, I think, means a huge amount to them.
What do you think audiences and storytellers get from independent cinema they perhaps don't from mainstream kind of commercial blockbuster fare?
I suppose it's the voice, the voice of an independent film, of an authored voice. Independent films are free to be different and unusual, and we're free to look at all kinds of subjects that studios are less and less able to do. Those big studios are more and more having to concentrate on narrower and narrower markets and narrower definitions of film. And the independent filmmaker can make any film that his her imagination, conjures up.
What does it mean for you to be nominated and to have the film recognised in this way?
It's incredibly special to be here in London. I've been away in the States for the last 6 months, so it's really, really special to be home, and especially to be nominated for Belle, which is such a special project, my first lead role in a film, and a very, very British independent film at heart. So it was such a labour of love to make the film, so it's really, really special to be celebrated. I think there's a little more freedom in independent film to be more creative and artistic, a little bit more single-handed creative vision, and there's so much that goes into it, so collaborative. But I think with something like Belle, it's a story that often probably would not have been told by a bigger studio or something like that. It really does have a very independent voice.
What's up next for you?
I've been quite busy. I just finished a movie in the summer called The Whole Truth, which was shot in New Orleans, and I'm currently working on a film which has the working title of Concussion with Will Smith, about brain injuries in the NFL in America.
It's amazing. It's it gives us a sense of pride in a sense of kind of that we worked really hard towards something, and we couldn't imagine to be here, really, to be honest. I mean, really, it's just something you kind of whisper to your friends. I mean, for me, it was just a story that I care deeply about, and it's something that comes from a very personal place. So. Oddly, I've just come back from Vietnam. I was there for 2 months writing this next script called Monsoon. So.
tell us anything about that, what we can expect from Monsoon?
It's about the repercussion of the Vietnam War, but it's a present-day film all set in Vietnam, about the Vietnam War, I guess, yeah.
How does it feel to be nominated at this year's BIFAs?
Oh, it's great, so exciting. Actually, nominated is like a winning already, to me.
This is a beautiful film that's meant so much to so many people. What made you want to be a part of this story, though?
Because I read the script. I think it's a very good script, very well done script. And I think I'm a 4 children's mom, so I understand the communicate between mother and children, so how important is it? So I think that shows, because they don't communicate very well. Wait until too late, right? They have no time to communicate with your children.
Do you have a most special memory from the making of the film?
The special, actually, it's not very long time. It's only like a 17 day or 19 day, I don't remember. But we are so close together, like real things happen to us. Yeah, working with them, actually, with the whole crew, it's very good experience for me.
Well, this film is called The Carman Line, Karman, with there's accents on the A's if you're Googling. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It stars Olivia Colman and a cast of other completely incredible actors, slightly too long to list. And it's about a mother, a sort of everyday mother in a domestic environment in the UK, who then one afternoon, just in the middle of making dinner for her daughter, loses her grip on the floor. Her feet start flapping uselessly underneath her, and she starts to move very, very gradually upwards from where she's standing. And no one can work out what's going on. The doctors come to look at her family try to deal with it, and, well, it sort of goes from there.
The film that we made here was very much a documentary-style film, but with massive sort of commercial aspects to it. The VFX that went with what we did are of a much bigger film, but the storyline and the way we approached it was very much an independent way of doing things. So I think that coming together felt really nice for us, and this is a great place to show that.
There are certain things you can talk about in independent cinema that it's much more difficult to talk about in cinema that's saying, I am mainstream, I'm here to make as much money as possible. There's Charlie Kaufman did a wonderful lecture at BAFTA a little while ago, speaking of the other B. I'm not sure if that's allowed here. And he said that the trouble with some cinema is that its only goal is to sell you something. Its only goal. Its only goal. He said about 5 times. And the wonderful thing with independent film is that isn't necessarily your aim. Your aim can be entirely different. It can be to show somebody an aspect of their own lives that they maybe hadn't realized other people were recognizing.
What are you hoping people take away from this short? What aspect of life are you hoping they understand better after seeing this one?
Well, so it's a bit of a giveaway to answer that question, but maybe I'll tell you anyway, which is, so at the end of the film, it's dedicated to my mum. My mum has CLL, chronic lymphocytic leukemia. And really the story emerged when I first learned that. I didn't know that that's why. I just thought I had this crazy image of a woman floating in my head, and I had no idea that it had anything to do with that. And after several years of work with these fine gentlemen with a wonderful writer called Dawn King, we finally figured out what it was all about. And the response to the film that has been most important to me, it's nice to be nominated for prizes. We've won 8, and this would be our 9th if we win it, which would be lovely. And I have to say, by the way, the most important one to me if we do. But actually what matters is not that. It's when people come up to you after a screening and they're still drying the tears, and they give you this hug, and there's no hug like it. And the hug says, thank you for seeing what it's like for me. Thank you for seeing what it's like for me and then talking about it eloquently on a big screen where everyone else can see it. Thanks for not leaving me alone in the world. That's what they say. And I mean, I usually burst into tears as well because I feel less alone as well.
Independent cinema is it's like what we've been trying to do for years. So, and yeah, it's like amazing that movies that aren't, I guess, like studio funded, that have like kind of like independent quality to it, I kind of like celebrate it like this. Yeah, it's amazing. It's what like it gives films like a place and like yeah, like a kind of stage. So yeah, it's amazing.
I think it's always tough for documentaries to kind of stand out in amongst the fiction films, especially at like cinemas, and you're always usually going to go and see something a little bit like easier, maybe a bit more light-hearted on a Sunday afternoon. But yeah, these events really do kind of like shed light on documentaries, especially documentaries that are trying to say special things about the world and about like interesting people. So no, I think it's really important. Wow, the highlight. Well, we did get tonight is. Once it's over, this one's going to be the one. I think it's going to be an extreme highlight. But no, yeah, definitely going on tour with the film with Edwin and Grace was like kind of fulfilled our teenage dreams of actually being in a rock band. So that was pretty fun for a week.
Thanks, Edwin.
Thanks, Edwin.
It's celebrating films that I love and filmmakers that I'm a big fan of, and I'm meeting some of my idols. You know, so it's. Really exciting time. Yeah.
Are there particular talents here tonight that you'd say are special inspirations for you?
I've just seen Timothy Spall, who I love, and his son Rafe. I've just seen them, so I'm big fans of theirs. But I think there's some great filmmakers up for awards tonight. Jan de Monge, you know, I loved 71, and there's few, there's loads, most of them.
Peaky Blinders, massive success again with the second season. For you, what was the personal highlight of being involved in that?
I guess just working with a team of people that want to make something good, you know, want to make television that's exciting and interesting, and everyone's at the top of their game. And everyone wants to make the best thing possible. So, yeah.
I started this journey with X+Y 6 years ago. And when we started the journey, I could never have imagined that we would be here at the Biffers with 4 nominations. And even just before the nominations were out, I looked at the list of films that were in consideration on the long list, and I thought, oh, well, you know, it's not going to happen this year. And it has, and so that's wonderful. So, you know, we're just made up to be here. Well, I mean, incredible actors that I was very lucky to work with. And Asa, I mean, is just sort of blossoming as a young star, and to see him nominated alongside some of the best British actors, some of the best actors in the world. You've got Benedict Cumberbatch in there, Timothy Spall, Brendan Gleeson. You know, I mean, these are extraordinary actors. So that was wonderful, and he was fantastic to work with. Rafe is a wonderful man, who is very funny, who is naturally very funny, who brought a lot of comedy to his performance, and also some wonderful moments of improvisation. Sally is just one of the best British actresses, one of the best actresses in the world, and invests so much in her performance. And it's not a case of Sally doesn't just switch on and switch off when you shout action and cut. She's in that moment, and she feels every frame of that performance, and she's fantastic. Well, it's very important. I mean, these films aren't necessarily driven by commercial success, but actually the good ones will be commercially successful because they are good films. And there are some great films here to be celebrated.